Welcome to Digital Defenders. Don't know what episode number this is. It's got to be like 7, 6, 7, somewhere like that. But we have a special guest with us today. We have Cheyenne Gonzalez.
Hello, hello.
Of Techie Geek, a sales superhero. I believe that's the title, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Do you like the superhero titles?
It goes with the brand, so I like it.
Now's your chance to tell me, Mike, they're terrible. Get rid of them.
No, I would never.
All right, there we go. That's why we have you on. You're not just going to yes me today, though, right?
No.
All right, good. So you've been with us. I like to tell people that you've been with Techie Geek about 2 months, but apparently it's been a year and like a week now, right?
Yes, it has. Time flies.
I do like how, what was it, like a couple of weeks ago, I was telling someone, I'm like, oh, Cheyenne's been here like 4 months, and you're in the other room going, okay. So, yes, time flies. It's been a year.
Yes.
We have a new person working the board today, but we got Julia working the board behind the scenes. So, and we're training some others. Another Julia. We only hire Jays here,
Apparently.
as you know.
Yes.
But Digital Defenders, this is our podcast that we're going to talk about some new cybersecurity, some new regulations. Since you're here today, I thought we could talk about the FTC safeguards.
Sounds fun.
Sounds fun. Since we are recording this, it looks like the second or third week of June. And June 9th, the FTC safeguards rule went into effect. You and I have been telling businesses for months to prepare for that. What do you think? You think the businesses have prepared for that?
I think some have, and others are kind of just getting on board with the importance of it, you know?
Yeah, so being here for a year and sitting in the conversations, you probably get that same feeling I do now, where sometimes you just want to shake someone and be like, this isn't optional, right? And the FTC safeguards rule, this isn't like one you could be like, yeah, I want to, you know, I'm going to follow it, or nah, I'm not going to. It's a law.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, right? And we sit in conversations and you talk to businesses and you're just like, nah, maybe. And I just want to shake them sometimes. You?
I wouldn't say shake, but sometimes you just, you know, me being a salesperson, I think the first assumption when I walk in is like, you're just trying to sell me something. And like for me personally, it's like, honestly, I want to help you. Like, do you have a genuine need for what we do? Because at the end of the day, it's becoming more and more of, I wouldn't say a problem, but definitely a priority for businesses. So I don't want to shake you, but you know, let's talk.
and I think that's more why I want to shake them, because you're 100% right. I am not a salesperson, right? I am an accidental entrepreneur. My passion is computers, and that's how I ended up starting this business. And I genuinely want to help people. So I want to shake you because as a business owner, I want you to understand, like, you need to do this. It's not because I want to make a sale, add another number. It's because I want to see your business succeed and not fail and not become another news article. And that's, you see it. You literally every day there's news article after news article. We spoke on the last podcast about right here in Staten Island, Rumsey, right? They were down for 3 weeks. They fall under HIPAA guidelines. So seeing that so close to home, I just want to help them. And it's genuine. I really care about their business. So that's more why I want to shake them. Not because they're not putting money in my pocket, but because I want to be like, this is real. Now, for those who don't know about the FTC safeguards, it is a new safeguard rule that came into place on June 9th, and it's by the Federal Trade Commission, and it really goes about financial institutions. So they classify that as a retailer that extends credit by issuing credit cards to consumers directly, car dealerships that lease automobiles for 91 days or longer, a real estate appraiser, a career counseling specializing in individuals currently or formerly employed by a financial organization, a business that prints and sells checks, a check cashing business, an accountant and or other tax preparation service, travel agency that operates in connection with financial services, an investment or credit consulting service, and an agency acting as a finder in bringing together one or more buyers and sellers. It's a vast majority. And now, especially CPAs, now fall under FTC, and that's this. Think of how many CPAs there are out there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an important. They hold an important amount of information also that as a consumer, so if I was your client, I would personally want to know like my information is being secured properly. If you're dealing with my social security, you know, my address, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of personal information that's like readily available that you can kind of find, but the things that should be safeguarded, I want to know I'm working with a business that's, you know, doing what they got to do for sure.
Well, when you go to like an accountant, we're all assuming that they're protecting our data, right? They have your social security number, all this important data. Like it's never, most people in the back of their mind, they're not thinking, are they protecting it? You're making that assumption.
Right.
And being here for a year and being a part of a number of risk assessments that we've performed is sometimes it's eye-opening to see.
Definitely.
Right.
Agreed. Definitely.
Like, you know, we've, you know, we obviously we'll never name names, but we've done some risk assessments for prominent, you know, firms. And then when we review that data that we've gotten from that assessment, it's just like, it's shocking, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then especially if that was one of your clients or somebody you relied on, that really is like eye-opening because you're like, wow. Like
Yeah,
that's
sure.
my social security number that was able to be obtained in that search.
Yeah, I can't even tell you. Like I go to places now, and anytime I'm, whether it's doing my taxes or if I need to buy a new car or whatever it is, I'm like asking now, like, hey, how do you guys, you know, kind of secure my information? Just a little paranoid.
Well, right. I don't blame you. And it's with everything, right? It's when you go to the restaurant and you hand them your credit card to pay, you're making the assumption your credit card's not going to get stolen from you being at that restaurant. And there's restaurants I know that we've been to that I literally just being a patron there see a Wi-Fi on the network, and what do? I'm an IT guy. I try to join every Wi-Fi I can and see. And there's a local restaurant over here that literally has an open Wi-Fi that I could see every point of sale system.
Wow.
You could control their music, everything. And that's not PCI compliant. So now, like every time you use your credit card, there literally could be a hacker just sitting there waiting, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, me, you know, I try to bring it to, hey, you know, this is a problem. You know, love to help you to fix this. Oh, no, my audio-visual guy does my internet. Yeah, that's why your internet is not protected.
Right.
It's your audio-visual guy isn't thinking security. He's thinking of what works for him.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, too. Like making sure that your business has somebody that's proactively letting you know like what's kind of going on in your environment, making those recommendations, and then somebody who's familiar with it. You know, audio visual, to your point, is like, okay, they're not maybe so, I don't want to say familiar, but that may not be their thing.
It's not their area of expertise, right?
Yes.
They're great at implementing control systems. They're amazing at implementing great sounding, you know, speaker systems, video distribution, but a lot of them, security isn't first, right?
Exactly.
Our main business, our first foot forward is security, IT. Do we do audio visual and all that? We do, but that's secondary, right? Our first main priority is security, and with them, it's the other way around.
Yes, agreed.
You know, if the speakers aren't working because they can't control the Sonos and they can't figure it out, they'll just turn off the security because now it works. Mm-hmm. No, we're not doing that. I'm figuring out what's wrong.
Right.
You know, so we see this all the time. And now it goes through. So what's the requirements if you fall under FTC safeguards, right? You have to name a qualified individual who retains responsibility of compliance. So it's basically putting the accountability on someone in that organization. They have to be accountable. A risk assessment is one of the first named things because we tell this to businesses all the time. You need to understand where you are, right? Without a risk assessment, how do you know how you fall? If you don't have the risk assessment, how do you know how many social security numbers could be stolen by a simple clicking an email?
It's true.
And I think that's the real crazy thing, right? That you've probably seen as being here now is how easy it is for a hacker to obtain and steal data.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
The one assessment tool that we use literally is sending email to every staff member. And obviously, if we're performing assessment to them, we're telling them to click and download the program.
Right.
But this program runs not as an admin. It runs at the user level. Just like if that employee fell for a phish email, click the link and download the program, which maybe they thought was a coupon printer or however, fell for an email, runs as that user. And the amount of data that it's able to gather and steal is eye-opening, right? Chrome passwords, and talking about those Chrome passwords. So we were talking earlier, ChatGPT had the breach. Well, no, I'm sorry. We're not going to call it a breach because it was not a breach on ChatGPT. Over 100,000 ChatGPT accounts were stolen via info-stealing malware. The malware used is the malware that basically tries to get users to click and then steals their passwords out of Chrome, Edge, Internet Explorer, like the exact tool that we're, during the risk assessment, we're showing testing people that is a possibility.
Right.
Because, probably even before being here, you thought it was safe to store passwords in Chrome.
Thankfully, I never did, but you're absolutely right. Like, that was something, I didn't think anything of it. Like, I was like, oh, that's a cool feature, but finding out that it's not secure is like, there's so many people I know who do actually store their passwords in it. It's crazy.
And it's one of the easiest things to be exploited, as we've seen in the assessments. Now, Google is in the process of rewriting that whole engine because they understand, that how vulnerable it is. So they are rewriting the engine to make it more secure. But that's why a business should be using a password management tool.
Absolutely.
Because even if you're saving it within Google, you can't share it with another user. When you have a password management tool, now you're able to share passwords collectively throughout departments.
Yes.
When you came here a year ago, which felt like 3 months ago, we got you set up on Passportal, which we use internal. And I can remember day one seeing you being like, oh. And then by the second week, you're like, this is great. It's easy. It's easy to use. Yeah,
for sure. Just not having to either remember a bunch of different passwords, which, kind of results to you still having to reset them and still remember new passwords. Or two, having to think creatively about different passwords. I mean, so many people are using the same password with maybe just a number switch.
Dog name. Pet's name, birthday, month. Yeah.
Basic information that anybody could kind of assume or guess. And I thought it was interesting to find out that once a hacker has access to that password, so they say they do steal it from Google, it's now they can take that and run it through a program. They don't have to be the one giving brain power towards it. It's a computer guessing, okay, here's a bunch of different ways that this password could work, and let's try it on a bunch of different websites.
You could literally go on ChatGPT and say, I'm trying to come up with the password and here's my name, and not give your name, give someone else's name, birthday, their pet's name. Give me a different variation of password. I guarantee it'll throw you out hundreds of passwords, and one of those will probably be the one that the person uses. Because how many people use the @ symbol instead of the A? How many people use the $ symbol instead of the E or 3? And we all do the similar things because that's how our brain jumps to. So AI could easily figure that out.
Right, especially with AI nowadays. I mean, it's thinking faster than a human can usually.
Well, Microsoft's crying. We were talking earlier, right? ChatGPT was literally generating and giving Windows 10 and 11 keys to people for free. Yeah. It was generate me a product key, and it was giving working product keys. So people are oh, this is great.
Right.
AI is insane what it could do. True. So, and that's part of the passwords and the risk assessment and the need for the risk assessment. Then we have asset inventory, right? You have to know what's out there. You have to know what assets you have, what computers, what devices do you have. Periodic review of access control. Who has the correct access? Who only authorized users should have access, right? That's another one that you've been a part of where we do the assessment and we're literally talking to the business owner and we're like, do you know every employee has access to everything in the organization?
Yeah,
Yeah.
forget it. That's
And that's
scary.
like, it's almost like, I will say, it's almost like 8 or 9 out of 10 times where we will find there's at least one, if not the whole company, has access to something they shouldn't have access to.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Encryption, employee encryption is sensitive data because social security numbers, birthdays, this is the data that hackers go in and search and rip through and steal. Secure development lifecycle, that gets in the software. Multi-factor authentication, which is so easy. Yes, it adds 5 seconds on your day every time you log into something, but for what it does, it's so helpful.
For sure.
Secure disposal of data, change management, continuous monitoring. Constantly monitoring, implementing policies, procedures. Like that's when we get all the time. Well, can't you just implement it and we'll pay you one time?
Right.
Security is an ongoing thing. You have to constantly be monitoring it, analyzing it, implementing new changes. If you can't, it's not set it today and check it in 3 months or a year from now. It's set it today and constantly monitor it. And that's one thing that people don't get.
I think that's also from like just like how IT is usually looked at, which is like, hey, something's broken, let me call somebody to fix it. Versus exactly, versus like, okay, let me have something, a system in place that's constantly actively looking to make sure everything's as it should be. I mean, you wouldn't just hire a security guard for your business one day if you're open. You know, 24/7, or which in this case, your computers always have some form of access.
Your computer has access when you're not there.
Exactly.
All the time, and that's when hackers work best. Is when you gain access, get what's known as a foothold, and just sit there and wait till you leave for the day.
Exactly. So, same concept with your IT.
Yep. Training, provide personnel with security awareness training. I like this one. Managed service providers, like they actually mention that select a service provider capable of maintaining appropriate security and integrity of customer information. Require your service providers by contract to implement and maintain such safeguards. Periodically assess your service providers based on the risk, right? You have to be assessing us as well to make sure we're meeting the safeguards. Regular reporting to leadership, incident response plan. So it goes on. It's June 9th. It went into effect. Now, what makes this really different than all the others is HIPAA. HIPAA is a law. Again, not optional. Every medical professional, healthcare provider who does anyone ancillary who involved in healthcare has to meet HIPAA. It's not optional. Do you want to do HIPAA? It's literally the law. Mm-hmm. However, most people don't. As we know, you meet with people, they'll be like, oh, I know someone else that doesn't do it, so why should I?
Right.
Well, when they have a breach, what happens? They come in, they fine them. The fines could be astronomical, could be business ending for that healthcare provider, but that's it. It's a fine, maybe shuts their business down based on they can't pay the fine. Well, FTC Safeguards has changed this. And this is the first of the regulations that does this. Not only do they fine you, so the fines are up to $100,000 per incident, but the business owner could be held in jail for 5 years for not meeting FTC safeguards.
Wow. Yeah, no.
So literally, they are coming in and saying, this is not optional. This is not a game. You have to implement FTC safeguards. And if you do not implement the FTC safeguards, and you have some sort of data breach, or we audit you because it's by order of the Federal Trade Commission, we not only could we fine you up to $100,000, you actually could be held as a felony with up to 5 years in prison as the business owner.
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, just for something that could have been prevented, ahead of time, and I'm pretty sure cyber liability insurance is not going to cover that.
No, and it's crazy to think that, right? As a business owner, you could go to jail because you don't have a cybersecurity policies in place and procedures, but they're doing this because so many businesses don't take it serious. They allowed this to occur. They were recommending, hey, car dealerships, do this, whatever. How many organizations weren't doing it? So unfortunately, when their hands get tied, and when you turn on the news and you watch what happens, right? And every day it's this was hacked, that's hacked, this data stolen. the government is stepping in and starting to implement regulations. Scary thing, right? Because that you don't know what happens. Like, how far do they regulate down? At some point, do they say we're not a big enough MSP? You never know, but it's the start, right? And they're doing this and holding them legal, like at jail time, because they're trying to let them know this is real. This isn't optional.
Yeah, and you know what else I'm thinking of is this also affects banks on a larger scale as well.
Yes.
Like when you kind of branch out. So it's like it starts at your business, but then you're also now affecting other businesses as well, which, you know, could be another reason as to why it's also being taken so seriously. So it's not just you. It's not just an isolated incident. When it comes to safeguarding your business, you're probably working with other vendors as well, and you would want to know that those vendors are secure when you're working with them and they're dealing with your clients, or vice versa when it comes to them dealing with you.
And the thing with the safeguards rule is, if you meet the minimum requirements and you get hacked, they're not coming after you because you implemented the minimum safeguards. The government, we all understand that. Like, we talk about this all the time. It's not if, but when. Hackers are really good. You what you're doing is minimizing risk. They're saying, okay, you do this, you minimize risk, but if you get hacked, we're not going to hold you liable because you did what you were supposed to do.
Right.
They're looking to come in to say, oh, you're going to have MFA turned on, you're going to have this, your endpoints have no protection. That's when they're going after you.
Right.
But if you implement the safeguards and the rules and you get hacked, they think, all right, you did what you could have.
You're covering your own.
You covered, you attempted, you followed the process. This hacking organization was better than you.
Right. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure just about when I've spoken to different business owners or you know, high-level professionals, nobody wants to get sued.
No.
You know, when you really look at it. So your insurance can only do but so much after the fact. So it's more so, what are you doing to mitigate that risk before this happens to you?
And insurance companies too, they're in the business of making money. You're not making money if you're paying out on claims, and if you're not doing what you're supposed to, they're not going to pay out on your claim.
Yeah, which is why they made it such a longer process now too.
Yeah.
I know it was a lot easier before to get cyber insurance.
5 years ago, it was like one page.
Yeah,
You literally didn't have to do anything. You literally could go buy cyber insurance and be like, oh yeah, I don't have any security. They'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Now it's 11 pages, 3-pager, ransomware rider. It's like, and if you put in there, I don't have MFA, I don't do this, they go, we're not covering you.
Right.
Because again, they're in the business to make money. They're not in the business to lose money.
Exactly.
So FTC safeguards, it's here, it's real. If you're one of those businesses that we spoke about, if you don't know about it yet, if you haven't taken it serious, we'd love to talk to them. Like,
absolutely.
Help them understand what they could do to protect themselves.
One of the businesses that you kind of mentioned on the side, but I know it is also included in the FTC safeguards, correct me if I'm wrong, is auto dealerships.
Yes.
Which I think you don't think of them as like a financial institution, but they're dealing with your financial information and working with a financial institution.
And it's not just auto dealerships.
I believe
it's the leasing companies that have all mom and pop shops started up around. It's based on, there are certain minimums that if you have to have a certain amount of customer information, which I think is 5,000 customers is the limit. Underneath that, though, it's not saying you're free and clear. There's a subset of what you have to do. Instead of doing the whole thing, you have to do a subset.
Okay.
But even if you're a leasing company, right in there, it's spelled out. If you lease for more than 91 days, you are now responsible. Yeah. So yeah, taking it serious and doing that. So with the safeguard. So we're happy to help.
For sure.
Before we finish up today, we did get a little technology toy, you and I, recently.
Yes.
That we both like, which we picked up. I got for you first, the Remarkable, which is, I do really like it. We'll put a link down below. So you've been using it for longer than me. I just got mine like 2 days ago. Yesterday, actually, I think. You've been using it for a week and a half. What do you think of it?
I love it. I write literally on just about any notepad I can find. So my notes are usually like scattered and I try to organize them afterwards. So just having it where I can kind of write my notes really quickly and then store them into a file, but without having to go on the computer and, do any other like extra steps is great. Like it's like my little notebook that I can now organize very quickly, and I can write on it, I can type on it, forget it.
So I tend to try things and never use them. So that's why with this one, I'm going to like, I tend to buy like technology, like little things that I think will help, use it for like 2 weeks and put it in a drawer.
Yeah, understood.
And I've tried different ones. I've showed you the pen that recorded and different things. I think this one I'm gonna like because I write on Post-its all the time. Like for I'm very technology driven, but when it comes to like organization, I go right to Post-it notes like on a desk.
Yeah, same here. If you go to my desk, it's like post a note here, a bunch stacked together, one on my computer.
But the problem with that, especially for me, is I try to leave the office around 5, go home, play with my kids. They go to bed at like 8:30, so a lot of times I could do work from my house or when they're in, but then I'm like, where are my Post-its? They're here.
What was it that I had to do again?
Right.
Something.
So, and I've created things in Microsoft, right? There's tools. Like I have planners, I have task lists in 365. It's just the way my brain works.
Yeah.
For some reason, I go to the paper.
I feel the same way. I know there's a lot of people who are like transitioning over and like I guess they're used to more of the computers. So I think this is a good combination of if you're somebody who needs to physically write something out in your notes and combining that technology, and upgrading.
That's why I think I'll like it. But it might be in my drawer in 2 weeks. I think it might be claimed by Julia. But that's
at least somebody uses it.
At least someone uses it. But yeah, that's about usually 2 weeks is my point. Like I'll use it really, and then you'll start to notice it works its way into a drawer. The Nintendo Switch I had, I played a lot for 2 weeks. I don't think I've turned it on in 3 years.
The Switch is which one? The one that's like
it's like portable, but then you could also hook it up to the TV. It has a dock.
Oh, okay. Does it have? Because I'm going like this. Like it has.
It has like you could like twist them off. And
Okay. I don't. In my head, I'm like, am I thinking of like Bop It?
No. Oh, I remember that. That was
Yeah, no. But Nintendo Switch.
But I bought this Switch like probably like 6 months before COVID.
Okay.
Because I was working a lot more in the business than on the business at that point. I was going around with Jimmy a lot. And I was like, I'm going to buy the Nintendo Switch. So when I'm in the truck with Jimmy, I'm going to play. Like, let him drive and I'm going to play games.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think I did that one time. If you ever drove with Jimmy, you'd understand. He drives very fast. It's all over the place. I'm like looking at the screen. I was like getting nauseous.
I have not driven with Jimmy, and
I recommend you don't. It's like I every time I get back from a job with him, I'm like usually by like time we hit the office, I'm like I feel so sick, Jimmy. Like I can't like look at my phone. Yeah,
car sick.
But you know what? He's better though than Rob. If you really want to get nauseous, drive with Rob. He's much worse.
This is why
you stay in the office. Take your own car.
My own, yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't drive with Rob.
That's funny.
But yeah, so we'll give an update on the Remarkable. I thank you for coming on Digital Defenders.
Thank you for having me.
It was easier than you thought, right?
Yes, I was dreading it a little bit. Camera shy.
Now, how long do you think we've been talking?
So it's probably going on like 20 minutes since I thought that 15 to 20 minutes was too long.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about 30 minutes.
30? Oh my goodness.
So you remember when I said we're going to talk 15? You're like, no, that's way too long.
Yeah.
It goes a lot quicker.
Okay.
It goes a lot quicker.
It does. Wow, 30 minutes.
Well,
hope you stood around.
And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how could they do that?
Yeah. I mean, you can reach me at Cheyenne at techiegeek.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. Cheyenne Gonzalez. I don't think I have my middle initial on there.
Who knows?
Yeah, but Cheyenne Gonzalez. And yeah, that's probably my best professional route. And we can always talk. And
if anyone has any FTC safeguards questions,
absolutely
hit Cheyenne up and she'll be happy to talk to you, talk about risk assessments and all that.
Absolutely, definitely.
And I am Mike Bloomfield, and this is concluding Digital Defenders.
Take care.
Thank you.